Hey, beautiful people of the interwebs, this is Dan. Here's a big one. 9770s. I thought I would make this video because it's one of those combines, one of those machines that I just love. I think it's John Deere's best combine. However, it does have a little boo-boo, and that is their engines. So what happened on this one, the client actually noticed that it seemed to be suddenly a steam engine, as he kept having a lot of blow-by out of the crankcase breather. And turns out it's sweet to the taste, and the oil sample showed sodium in the oil, so we had a water leak. Now, a common thing too on these is actually the water pump. So about the 2,000 hour mark, you want to definitely have changed the water pump already. These guys, they're hard enough to get to, and they can surprise you because there's actually a little plug they put in here for that weeping hole, and I'm not sure why they do that, but you might not catch a leak here. But if you see some issues developing, if you see that crusty coolant crap build up, replace this water pump. If you're at 2,000 hours, you may want to consider an engine overhaul. Now, this sounds scary, I know, but there's a lot that you will catch with doing it. So you have a 9770 and they're totally worth buying. I mean, even if this is the case, totally worth. You can do an engine overhaul for fairly cheap, okay, compared to what you get. But here's the thing. When John Deere built these, on these combines, sorry, my throat, it's chronic, not corona, they didn't allow for enough crush. That means the liners in here don't protrude enough for the head to apply sufficient force to keep them from bouncing. And that's exactly what happened on him, number 6 cylinder. And it will be hard to see, but it's kind of roughed up in here. Number 6 started bouncing and wore the O-rings to shit, and the liner got rough, so it started pushing water into the engine. But also the water pump was leaking. So it was a little bit of, oh yeah, water pump is leaking, let's change it. And then we were like, well, let's dig a little deeper, and found more water in it. And let me tell you, taking the oil pan off of these without the engine out, oh man, don't get me started. But if you have water in it, you're at 2,000 hours, just yank her out. Just do it. Sorry, but just do it. Here's what you can catch. So you're doing all the liners and pistons. And that is a good thing, because a lot of these pistons also get quite carboned up already. So you're starting to use more oil and all that. Maybe the rings weren't all quite right, and it's just worth it there. Camshaft, another issue. On these engines, I have seen these rollers get a little wear mark, then they kind of chatter across the camshaft and wear the camshaft to shit. Or this pin is wore, and then these rollers start just vibrating a little bit, doing the same thing, get wore, where the camshaft also buggered. So liners you'll take care of, and the water pump you'll take care of, and those followers you will take care of. You would have to just check them to see whether there's play or not. If there's not, then they're fine. Not sure what makes them fail, but it has happened. The other thing is, while you're in this mode of replacing things, and we'll get to the parts here shortly, but what you want to do is you want to check the condition of your EGR. If this is caked too much, then scrape that crap out of there. Turbo, obviously John Deere turbos, they do have, it's hard to show, I think, but they have a fair amount of play side to side. But if you push it and it doesn't scrape, well, then it's okay. It's when they apply oil pressure, then they don't have any play. So that's John Deere turbo. And this part here, if you haven't replaced this actuator yet because it has gone solid on you, then maybe you end up doing that. And what can happen is two things. Either this thing seizes up, or if you had water in here or it's been sitting for a long time, maybe the deflector fins, the adjustable fins inside, they have started to seize. So you can do two things. Actually, what you should do is just take this little lever off and rotate it again. And on the machine, you can literally just reach in from the top if the engine is there. Reach in, pull it, let go. If it returns, great, don't worry about it. If it gets stuck, if it's really hard to move, take this piece off, and then you can isolate either whether it's this arm or the actuator. The other thing is check your pre-filter. So you want to look for what is basically the pump failing. Take the filter out, have a look inside. Is there filings? Then this pump is going. Replace the filter, run the combine, check after the season again. If there's filings back, replace this pump. This here, EGR cooler, you want to have a look inside and make darn sure that it's not plugged up. You can kind of make out the fins, right? Can we? Yeah, there you go. So, you know that you can see the fins and the separation of them. He's easy enough to take off. And check that. So, water pump, EGR cooler, the fuel pump, the turbo, check there, check here. The crankcase, or not crankcase, the main gear case seal. All right, replace that. Replace the seal that's in the main gear case because that's failing. Usually by this time the oil pan gasket also failed, so that's another thing. And also usually between 2,000 and 3,000 hours, anywhere in there, these things will, I shouldn't say blow up because that sounds crazy, but they get wore out so bad that they chatter around and then they chew the gear case shaft to shit. So yeah, if you're at 2,000 hours, again, it makes so much sense to replace this as well as the rear engine seal. So sum it up: flywheel bearing, water pump, oil pan gasket, liners and O-ring seals, camshaft, turbo and turbo actuator, piston condition, maybe even delamination, possibly even injectors. If you hear this if the engine kind of has a stutter, injectors. Did I already do injectors? Injectors. Check the EGR cooler, check the EGR valve. What did I miss? Something. You'll remind me. Oh, the main gear case seal. So there's almost 10 things or more than 10 things here that you need to take care of, and so easy when you pull the engine. Now, imagine the engine is back. You go to the engine and you want to check. You're at 2,000 hours. You haven't had any issues with the combine yet. You go up, you pull the breather hose off the valve cover. You look inside like this, and if it's gray and slimy, it's water, oil, emulsion. Not good. You can take this off and look even further. You can take the cover off and look underneath. I've already cleaned this. They have this baffle, but you can usually see right in between here without even taking it off. If it's got gray shit on it, it's done. Replace, like pull the engine. Not even second guessing it. And as for the kits, don't bother with anything less than the complete overhaul kit. And make sure when you get it to tell your dealership to open the box. Okay, what has happened in the past is, depending on where the kit comes from, they sometimes drop them around, the box looks rough, and all this shit has been rattled around inside, and the way they pack them is really good, except when you throw it around hard enough, these gaskets fly around, and then the box gets pinched by the piston kits, and it just mangles the whole thing. So have the dealership check that for you. Order the head bolts. You get the cylinder head bolts and connecting rod bolts you'll also need to order. They don't come in the kit. Don't know why, but they don't. Maybe it's because of the different arrangements of heads. That, and same with this, you can order a upgrade kit for the rear engine seal, which we are not going with. We'll go with the old one. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that in the lineup of things that fail. Rear engine seal is done by that time too. Guaranteed it will leak at 2,000 hours. Check your coupling. If there's any kind of crackage indication, it's about $700 Canadian. Replace it, be done with it. And you get so much in this kit, it's really worth going for. There's a few extra things you won't need, but you get the main bearings, you get the connecting rod bearings, you get a complete kit of liners with pistons inside, so you just have to transfer your rods, and you get the shim. So this particular engine was actually 2 thou of protrusion. The minimum spec is 4. And with these shims, which are 4 thou, we basically get 6. So we have 6 thou of protrusion, and that is more than enough. We had almost 2,000 hours of 2 thou, and now we're gonna have 6 thou, and that will definitely outlast probably the client. Yeah. So there is that. I think